I have been playing a lot of For Honor over the past few weeks. I played a bit during the beta, but never really got around to giving the game a shot after release. I'm sure you'll all remember the insane amounts of hype surrounding the game in the months leading up to its launch. I mean, there were a lot of big internet personalities and people I know in real life that could not stop talking about how great it was going to be. But then there was almost nothing. What gives? I mean, just look at this gameplay, it's fucking great. Personally, there hasn't been an online-centric PvP game that's held my attention this well in close to a year. So it begs the question, why did For Honor die out so quickly? Whatever the reason, is it really worth coming back to now, so long after release? Hey guys, Caesar here, bringing you my analysis of For Honor situation and seeing if I can shed some light on this game's rocky history. So let's start from the beginning. For Honor was announced at E3 2015 to much fanfare among the gaming community, and it was for good reason too. Ubisoft as a company definitely was not known for introducing many new IPs, so this really caught everyone's attention. A multiplayer melee-based PvP game was not exactly new to the industry, but it was certainly uncommon. The only other big examples I can think of are Chivalry and War of the Roses. As the hype train gained more and more momentum, it culminated in the launch of the game's closed, then open beta. This pre-release build was mostly well received by those who played it, though it foreshadowed some of the issues that would plague the game's official launch. The beta had some server issues, with it sometimes being extremely difficult to hop in and play a quick match. While some critics were skeptical about the game being ready for release, the majority just chalked this up to problems that would be fixed by launch or in a day one patch, and For Honor would go on to be the best-selling game of February 2017, with a whopping 700,000 units sold across all platforms by the end of the month. While the game had nothing short of a strong start, it also had a drastic drop in popularity very early in its life cycle. According to Steam charts, For Honor had just about 46,000 concurrent players on PC around launch, but by March, just 1 month later, this number had dropped to a measly 6,939. So why did this happen? Well, if you ask me, it boils down to a couple of key points. Firstly, the game's variety. As of its release, For Honor only has 12 maps to rotate between. Out of those maps, the majority look very similar to the rest. The game touts 60 variations in total, and that may be true, but the differences are so minor that the claim feels disingenuous. It's just straight up lazy. The dev team thinks that if they take a map and give it different weather conditions, then no one will catch on to the fact that they have a stunning lack of content. And on top of that, there were only 5 different multiplayer modes in the game. You had your standard deathmatch, domination, and capture the flag modes, along with a 1v1 and 2v2 mode. None of these are particularly interesting and are bog standard fare in modern multiplayer games. Needless to say, this lack of content got old really quickly for many players. My second point is the game's matchmaking issues. For Honor launched with the infamous peer-to-peer system for online matchmaking. This made it extremely difficult to simply sit back and play the game. In case you don't know what a peer-to-peer system is, it's essentially the idea that when connecting to a game, there are no real servers to host the match, so one of the players acts as the server for that match instead. The problem with this system is the complete lack of consistency. The smoothness and connectivity in any given game is entirely dependent on the ping and upload speeds of whoever the system has chosen to host it, and unfortunately, there are a lot of people whose networks can't properly support that kind of workload. Even if you have a smooth experience with one host, there's a good chance that your next one will be awful. There's really no excuse for this. A huge AAA company like Ubisoft would have no problem hosting their own dedicated servers, but they thought that they could have slipped one past their customers just to make a little bit of extra cash. Noticing their huge mistake in that assumption, Ubisoft did eventually move to using dedicated servers instead, but it was too little, too late. And that brings me to the second question I prompted. Is the game in a state that's worth playing now? Well, that's obviously going to depend on you, but I can give you my honest opinion based on my experience in For Honor's current version. As I mentioned, For Honor has moved to dedicated servers. I'm thoroughly impressed at how stable the game runs now. There have been a couple of days when the servers go wonky for a few hours, but that's been my only negative experience in that respect since I started playing. The network is otherwise pretty rock solid. As far as the game's content issues goes, not a whole lot has been done to alleviate this. Ubisoft has added plenty of new cosmetic items that you can grind for, along with a ranked mode for both Dominion and 1v1 tournaments. In addition, there are somewhat frequent events that usually introduce a fun temporary mode until said event ends. With the distinct lack of game modes, I feel as if these event modes should be made permanent, but I digress. There has also been a season pass which has added 6 new classes, bringing the total to 18. However, for $40, I can't in good conscience recommend purchasing it, though luckily all of the DLC classes can be unlocked with in-game currency, but granted at a very high cost. If you watch my review of Absolver, I'm going to come to a similar conclusion here. If For Honor's core gameplay is something you can really get behind, then it's totally worth checking out, even despite the small amount of content. Even more so if you can get the game from a physical retailer, where at this point in time, it's extremely cheap. I mean, I bought my copy at GameStop for I think $15. However, if you're looking for additional content, For Honor actually has you covered. On October 16th, 2018, For Honor is going to have its Marching Fire update, and it is without a doubt the game's biggest expansion to date. It's going to add a ton of new things, including a new game mode, a graphical overhaul, and an entirely new faction accompanied with its own 4 classes. They've also talked about an unlimited single player or co-op mode, which frankly just sounds like a glorified horde mode, but hey, that might be your type of thing. Overall though, with the launch issues sorted out and all this new stuff on the horizon, now is probably the best time to be a For Honor fan. If you guys enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. It would mean the world to me if you did. Also, if you have the time, I'd really appreciate it if you dropped a comment letting me know what I could improve in the future. But as always, peace.